Senator Heinrich, we have a situation right now on Capitol Hill where we have waiting for next week as we sit here and tape this, potentially testimony on this Kavanaugh Supreme Court situation. What are your thoughts on what's going on right now?
I am frustrated and disappointed in my colleagues in the seemingly political way in which Dr. Ford has been treated. I would think that at this moment in time, we would have learned a few things from all the mistakes that we've made over the years, going all the way back to the Anita Hill testimony in the early 90s, certainly what we've been through in just the last couple of years. And when I see the kind of tweets emanating from the White House, attacking her credibility, I think the first thing we should have learned is to respect anyone who's willing to bring these claims forward and to hear what they have to say. And that's where we need to start. And I just don't feel like, I feel like there has been an effort to rush forward and the outcome outweighs all the things that we thought we learned in the last few years about how we should respect people when they're willing to bring these kinds of charges forward.
Do you agree that with her call to have the FBI come in and act as a third-party arbiter for this situation, was that something to ask for that was appropriate in your view?
That is normally, under a normal administration, exactly what would have happened as a matter of course.
Okay.
That even happened back in the early 90s with Anita Hill. That is not a criminal investigation. That is what the FBI does as part of a background check. So if in the course of a background check, it's closed, but new information comes forward, either from a new witness or something gets disclosed that wasn't part of that, the FBI typically goes in, opens up the books, interviews the relevant witnesses, looks at additional information, whether that's yearbooks or anything else that might be relevant, medical records, and then comes back with a new report. And that is what I think exactly what should have happened here, because it's not then Republican senators, Democratic senators, it's a law enforcement agency just looking for the facts.
Right. Undocumented kids in detention. This is a tough subject too. We've got an unholy amount of kids, I'll just say it, that are in detention right now from the administration's policy right now. How do we get out from under this mess in your view? What's happened here?
I think first off, we've got to start articulating what kind of country we want to be. And I do not believe that we should ever be a country that separates children from their parents the way we saw this administration do. And we've got a lot of things to fix and try to bring the pieces back together. And no matter how well we do that, how much oversight, how many plans there are to fix this after the fact, the reality is these kids will be impacted by this for the rest of their lives. So we have a lot of atonement to make this even close to right.
Let me ask you a question about the Mueller investigation. If it turns out, as we're sitting here taping, there's a lot of pieces in play right now that concern the White House and Department of Justice. We don't know what's going to happen by the time this airs. But let's say the president ends up firing Rod Rosenstein, Mr. Mueller, just everything rolls downhill from there, as you know. Would you support impeachment at that point?
Well, I think right now we have a process, and I think in these times when we have a White House that doesn't embrace the norms and the processes of democracy, it's even more important to step back and say, right now we need to let this process play out. And I'm not going to jump into hypotheticals, but this special counsel needs to bring their report forward. The House of Representatives will act on that, and they will either draft articles of impeachment or they will not. And if they draft articles of impeachment, then the Senate needs to be the judge for those. And I think, what I will say is I will take my job to do that as by the book as we possibly can, very seriously, because I think we need to set a tone that even in this time where the White House doesn't care about norms and standards and the sort of democratic processes, it's all the more important for those of us in the Congress to adhere to those things.
Senator, thank you. Really appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
Absolutely.